Good evening and welcome to the City of Topeka Planning Commission meeting. We are a commission appointed by the mayor and the city council to plan for the orderly growth and development of the community, to hold public hearings and to make recommendations to the city council on planning items. Please note that the city council rules state that public hearings for planning cases shall be conducted solely by the planning commission. No additional public hearings will be conducted by the city council. Tonight's cases are tentatively scheduled to be heard by the City Council next month. Agendas can be found at topeka.org. For cases that require public hearings, the procedure will be as follows. First, the Planning Department staff will summarize the case. Next, we will hear from the applicant or their representative. Then we will receive public testimony. Public comments should be addressed solely to the chair and are limited to 4 minutes. Chris, take the roll, please.
Mr. Dean is absent this evening. Mr. Freed?
Here.
Ms. Herron?
Here.
Mr. Kanar?
Here.
Mr. Kelp?
Here.
Ms. Messina?
Here.
Ms. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Tababin?
Here.
And Mr. Warner?
Here.
We have 8 present for a quorum.
Thank you. Next is item B on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the November 15th meeting. Are there any requested changes to the minutes? Not seeing any. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Messina.
Second.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Thank you. Kanar?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Chris, if you could take the vote, please.
Mr. Dean is not here. Mr. Freed?
Abstain.
Ms. Herron?
Yes.
Mr. Kanar?
Aye.
Mr. Kanar, I didn't catch that.
All right, I wasn't unmuted long enough. Aye.
Okay. Mr. Kelp?
Aye.
Ms. Messina?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Tababin?
Aye.
Mr. Warner?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0 with 1 abstaining.
All right, next is item declaration of conflict of interest or ex parte communications by members of the commission or staff. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone stepping up saying that they have any of those issues, so we will then move on to the action items. First action item under D is item PUD 2104.
Mr. Chair, action item D1 has been withdrawn. I believe you were given that notice last week. It was withdrawn by the applicant, so we will not be holding a hearing on that tonight.
All right, then we will move past item D1 and we will move to item D2, Z2108. Downtown D1 rezoning by the Topeka Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Give me 1 second and I will get this presentation shared. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay, so this is the rezoning to D1 Downtown District by the Topeka Planning Commission. A little bit of background on this. So 3 different notifications have been sent to the property owners throughout this process through initiation and then a background meeting for members of the community, as well as a notice for this meeting as well. The first meeting was kind of a primer as part of this larger downtown rezoning. We also held a neighborhood information meeting that was sent to all properties within 300 feet of a property that was being rezoned to D1. And that's what that image shows on this map, is what that buffer was. Then some additional context. So what we're looking at is 91 properties to be rezoned. They make up 95.5 acres. This area has boundaries of Southwest Topeka Boulevard to the west, 12th Street and 13th Street to the south, Southeast Adams to the east, and 2nd Street to the north. There are no proposed changes to the use with this rezoning, and existing land uses will be allowed to remain per TMC 18.50.050. The properties to be rezoned are currently composed of M2 multiple family, M3 multiple family, C2 commercial, C4 commercial, ONI2 office institutional, and I1 light industrial. The categories of the surrounding zoning districts are generally the same, with some additional D1 and I2 heavy industrial as well. And then in regards to the future land use map, these properties generally fall within the area identified for a downtown future land use. Additionally, there are some pockets that are part of the mixed use, which have some alignment with what we see in downtown. So this future land use designation would allow for a greater number of vertical and horizontal mixed use sites as well with that downtown D1. And staff recommends the approval of D1 to downtown zoning. And that concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions of staff?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Cow.
thank you. Bryson, I got just a couple questions. The 91 parcels, is this in this area, does this constitute the entirety of all the properties that the city proposes to initiate a rezoning to the D district?
This is just for D1. There are 91 properties for D1. There will be at a later date additional properties for D2 rezoning and D3 as well. I believe that was partially identified in that initiation as far as where those general areas were.
Okay, so this has all the D1 rezonings. Okay.
Correct.
Other question, it's a separate agenda item, the text amendments to the downtown district zoning regs. Were the property owners, the affected property owners, these 91 parcels, were they all advised of that the city was going to be taking up amendments to the D1 regs?
When we sent out our notices and we invited members who were being rezoned to attend that meeting where we did discuss what some of those text amendment changes would be, as well as we have some of that information available online.
Okay, so everybody that had property proposed to be rezoned received some notification, and were advised they could go on the city website to see the actual proposed text amendments. Is that
correct?
Correctly? Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions of staff? All right. Not seeing none, we normally at this point would then go to a statement by the applicant, but I'm guessing we've already had that. Is that correct? So then we would then open the public hearing session to accept comments from the public. If there's anyone who would wish to comment on this item. I am not seeing anyone indicating they wish to speak, so that would close the public hearing portion of this item. Are there any further questions or comments from anyone on the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Cobb.
Thank you for indulging me. Bryson, I know from the staff report that you identified only 5 parcels that become non-conforming uses. legal non-conforming uses. And I know the citation over to the city code dealing with non-conforming uses. The change to D1 for these properties, and I'm going to ask you in the context of or taking into account also the proposed amendments, if they're passed, are there going to be any non-conforming structures or non-conforming lots that you know of?
None that I'm aware of at this time. Dan, if you have anything to add there.
Sure. Thanks, Bryson. Dan Warner with the Planning Division. I think the answer is no. We have, this is part of Topeka's our oldest, basically platted part of the city. So we have many, many lots of record that were legal at some point. And we actually also, if you look at so I come kind of full circle here. If you look at the changes in the text amendment, we made some edits to the maximum. Oh, let me look real quick. We're proposing changes to the maximum lots or minimum lot size or minimum lot width. So we're basically, there are no proposed lot widths for downtown for that type of development. So I don't believe so. I think we're still either have legal lots of record or the proposed D districts will accommodate those lot sizes as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments by any members of the commission? All right, not seeing any, I would ask for a motion regarding this item. We're a quiet group tonight.
Chair, make the motion based on the findings and analysis in the staff report. I move to recommend to the governing body approval of the request to classify the property from I'm reading the wrong motion. See what happens to you there? Oh, that's the right one. To reclassify the property from M2, M3, C2, C4, ONI2, ONI and I1 to light industrial to D1 district.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
I second.
Did you get that, Chris? All right. If you could please take roll for the vote.
Mr. Freed,
Aye.
Ms. Herod,
Aye.
Mr. Kanar,
Aye.
Mr. Kelp,
Aye.
Ms. Messina,
Aye.
Ms. Pearson,
Aye.
Mr. Baldwin,
Aye.
and Mr. Warner.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, we are now on to the next item, which is D3, item ACZR 2101, again by the Topeka Planning Commission. Turn it over to staff.
Mr. Chairman, I'll handle this one. Share my screen. Okay, I'll go through this. I showed a version of this last month for the initiation, so I won't spend a ton of time on this, but I think it's important to kind of understand the breadth of these changes here. So this is the presentation on the D district zoning related text amendments. We have 3 different downtown mixed use zoning districts. They all have something a little different going on. So we have D1, D2, and D3. The changes that we've made in these text amendments are related to all 3 of those districts. First up is Chapter 1860. This is the land use matrix. So we've got this matrix in our zoning code that lists all the uses that we have and then shows which zoning districts those are permitted in. What we did was kind of evaluate the land use matrix based on the uses that were on the ground today, and really came to the conclusion that we probably could have some better, more appropriate mixed use character in those districts. So quickly to D3, which is our industrial mixed use district, we added warehousing, storage, and distribution centers and manufacturing processing type 2. That's really, again, to kind of make that district a little more industrial in character. We added to D2, indoor recreation type 1. We're going to need those kind of services downtown, especially if we develop a new kind of a new downtown residential neighborhood, which is the purpose of D2. And then daycare was added to D1, kind of along the similar lines of downtown services. If people are working and living downtown, it makes sense to permit daycares downtown as well in D1. I'll show you just snapshots of the matrix. This is D1. What's outlined in blue there is actually that's D2. I apologize. So really what I'm trying to show here for D1 is down here on daycare facilities. We changed that. Looks like that was a D2 change. Apologies. D2 then is also shown here. So we added office up here at the top, made that a permitted use instead of a CUP. It didn't really make sense to have a downtown mixed use district that didn't permit office uses. And then farther down here for D2, restaurant, family, and dining. So basically a restaurant is a conditional use permit currently in D2. We thought it made sense to make that a permitted use, again, mixed use downtown district. And then in D3, a couple examples here, the manufacturing processing type 2 at the top here, from conditional use to permitted. And then at the bottom, warehouse and storage from a conditional use to an S. And S means that use is permitted with standards. And we created some standards then for that use in D3, which I'll talk about next. So we also made some changes to 18225, which are the special use requirements. We clarified this storage yard, the outside storage yard for building construction mechanical contractor office. That outside storage yard requires screening if adjacent to a residential use or a mixed use zoning district. And then for D3, for warehouse storage and distribution, the standards are that use is permitted within existing buildings. All items have to be stored in the building, and there can only be one large common dock or garage door facing the public street. If that use can't meet those three standards, then that would trigger a conditional use permit. We also made some changes to Chapter 18200. This is where we talk about the D districts in the zoning code. So we're proposing to revise the purpose statements and then also adopt the downtown urban design standards by reference. So the downtown Topeka urban design standards are currently located in the downtown master plan. They were approved as part of the master plan. So what we're doing here is adopting them by reference to the zoning code. And then also in 18200, deleting the current design guidelines that are within the zoning code. Bryson touched on this a little bit. We had some neighborhood information meetings kind of early on. The Planning Commission, you initiated this last month. This is the public hearing on this item. Ultimately, it's the governing body that has approval of this item. And then staff's recommendation is to recommend approval of ACZR 2101, revisions to Topeka Municipal Code Title 18 regarding downtown zoning related text amendments. With that, commissioners, I'll be happy to try to answer questions.
Are there any questions for the staff?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Cobb.
Dan, if I could ask you just a couple questions off the matrix. And you mentioned about the daycare facility type 2, which is on page 46 of the agenda material. For the D2 and D3, are you there?
Yes.
And I know this is not the only place this appears in the matrix, but it's the special/conditional. How does that work?
So there's, if you see the S, that means that use is permitted, provided it can meet the standards that are in 18225. If it can, then it doesn't have to get the CUP. If it can't, then the CUP is necessary.
Okay. And anywhere in the matrix that you see the S/C, that's the key to that's the answer to that designation, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions of staff? Okay, not seeing any, and we've already heard from the applicant. I would open the hearing to any members of the public who wish to make a statement. Again, not seeing anybody, we will close the public hearing at that point and take it back if there's any last questions or any comments commissioners would like to make regarding this item. Well, I'll just say I wasn't here for the first presentation last month, but I like to see the changes and like what we're doing to help the downtown. So I think all this is pretty good stuff for what we're trying to do. So I appreciate all the staff's time and working hard and getting this all to work.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I missed the first 15 minutes and I apologize. I thought it started at 7. Was this meeting also discussing the property at Furman and Lower Silver Lake Road?
Ma'am, that item was withdrawn at the request of the applicant, so that is not being considered this evening.
Oh, okay. Well, I was not notified of that. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions or comments regarding the item regarding the text adjustments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If could ask just a point of information, the downtown Topeka urban design standards, which are being made part parcel of these amendments, the new version that's in our agenda material, was this all generated in-house?
Yes, but we had an architect committee help us, probably, about a year or so ago. It's a pretty typical process we've done with design type standards. Since I've been around, we like to get a group of professionals together to bounce ideas off of and make sure we're not getting a little too crazy. So yeah, it was in-house, but it was shared with a group of architects.
Okay, thank you. They look pretty good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion as it relates to item D3.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Cobb.
I would move approval of the proposed amendments as submitted.
All right, do I have?
Yeah, I would second. Commissioner Werner.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Chris, would you please call for the vote?
Okay, starting from the bottom up, Mr. Warner,
Aye.
Mr. Chvabin,
Aye.
Ms. Pearson,
Aye.
Ms. Messina,
Aye.
Mr. Kell,
Aye.
Mr. Kennard,
Aye.
Ms. Herron,
Aye.
and Mr. Freed.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
All right, next item is item E, communications to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only communication is our meeting next month is not going to be on the regularly third Monday of the month. Chris, can you just confirm? Sorry,
It's the
the 4th.
19th.
It's the 4th, right? 4th Monday.
Correct. It's the 24th. It's the fourth Monday.
Just want to make sure. So just a note to self, you should have that on your calendars, but I just want to remind you, it will be on the 4th Monday this month because the 3rd Monday falls on a holiday. And then my only other communication is to wish everybody well, a safe and healthy holiday season and a happy new year. And thank you for your service and look forward to seeing you in the new year.
All right, and I would join in those sentiments. I hope everyone is safe as things seem to be spreading quickly, that we can stay out of harm's way. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Wow, we can't even get a quick motion on a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, Commissioner Kennard.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Chris, do we take a vote on that, or all we need is the motion and the second? All right, we're good to go. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you next year.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Merry Christmas.